Hey there, and welcome to the latest episode of the Mind Body Health podcast with myself, Dave Sheahan, high performance consultant and dedicated now for over 25 years. Hard to believe it's over 25 years now, educating, motivating, and I do truly hope inspiring people just like yourself to become the best you that you can be, to create the life vision that you want, because you do hold the pen every single day to create the life that you want. The power is in your hands. And through this podcast and through the guests I have and through all that I put out there every single day, I do hope to educate, motivate, and inspire you to actually be the best you that you can be, because you have it, you have the potential. And, it's just a case of taking action. And you will speak a lot about taking action on this call, because I'm delighted to have a guest live from Colorado, someone I've admired for many, many years, followed for many years. I had the pleasure of actually meeting face to face in London. It was probably about 2017, 2018. We'll confirm when we chat shortly. But we chatted on and off online and then got to meet, and we've been involved in some virtual summits and things like that. Robert Cheeke is an amazing guy. He's an inspiration. He's like been involved in bodybuilding for many, many years. He grew up on a farm, yet he's been vegan for 27 years. So we'll obviously go very in depth into that. He's worked damn hard, has incredible work ethic. And now, like I was saying to him before we came on, he's getting the credibility he truly deserves for what he's put in to his work, his mission, his purpose for the last 27 years. And he's an inspiration to many around the world. He's now a New York Times bestselling author and incredible book that he's brought out that we're going to speak about as well. So Robert, welcome to the Mind Body Health podcast.
Dave, thank you so much for the generous introduction and for your kind words and for everything you have done for the past quarter century to inspire other people. It is great to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. And we've got to know each other on and off over probably the last, I'd say maybe 10, 12 years. It's probably something like that since we first had some kind of meaningful conversation, communication. And, what I love about you is, just the humbleness. You've always stayed normal. You've stayed true to yourself. You've stayed authentic. And you're so passionate about what you do. And you're a great example to others just in your work ethic and determination and desire and resilience and so on. And these are the kind of things that people need if they want to achieve a life of success, or to get in the best shape of their life, or to turn their health around, or to do anything in life that betters oneself, Typically, whenever I do interviews, I like to go back to the very beginning. So, I'd like to go back to, we speak a lot about the mind body health because I do truly believe it's the foundation to everything. It has a catalytic impact on every other area of your life without ever working on them. And when you feel good within yourself and you're in good health, you're in good shape, whatever that means to you, you've got a good, positive kind of mental attitude, you then will put more work into everything else anyway and benefit from it. But when did you first become aware of, in any form, mindset, exercise, nutrition, sleep, whatever it may be, that it's something that was important for you to start bringing into your life? Like, at what kind of age, what stimulated it, what kind of events brought it about?
Yeah, Dave, that's a great question, and probably one I haven't been asked a whole lot. I get a lot of questions about when and why I became vegan or how I got into bodybuilding, since I wasn't a bodybuilder at all when I started. But not a lot about this mindset and mental toughness. And, as you were asking the question, I had a few things going through my head of, when I was younger, as a teenager, first recognizing these motivational quotes and all these types of things, and some films and documentaries of Olympic athletes that I had and watched on VHS tape. But really, as I think back even a little bit further, Dave, I think it actually started in elementary school. By age 10 or so, and it started with this. Now that I'm thinking about it on the spot, it started with we had to run a mile, timed 1 mile distance. And, what is that? How many kilometers in a mile? I'm forgetting all of a sudden.
So 1.2 or something like that. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
1.2. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 5K is 3.1 miles. So just do the math equation, but we had to, we had to run 1 mile, and and I'd never done that before. And as it turned out, I was one of the fastest runners in my school.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, that got me kind of interested in being really good at something. And at the time, I was also pretty good at math. And so I was in advanced math class in elementary school. Just me and one other student were in kind of an advanced class where we set up a little bit higher standard. That didn't stick with me all the way through high school. Math is not a strong point anymore, but it was at the time.
Yeah.
But what happened is I ran the mile and I was one of the fastest in elementary school. And I may have been fourth grade. So I had the opportunity in fifth grade to do it again and try to be fastest in the whole school. And then I went to middle school, and they put in middle school, they print out a list and put the names on the wall, near the physical education area with the fastest times, the names and the times. And so I was determined to make that list, not only top 10, but to do my very best to go number one on the list.
Yeah.
And so I did that every year in middle school. And then when I got to high school.
Did you hit number one each time?
I got number one. I don't know. I don't think every time. There's
always
people who are just built to run who are better than me. But in high school, again, made the list, and I think even number one on the list. And then I even during like my off period, I met up with the gym teacher and had a friend there too, go out to the track and time me to try to set a school record, try to break the record. I had to run it in 4 minutes and something seconds. I wasn't able to do it. I was just right around 5 minutes, and I couldn't quite do it. I later in track and field competition ran about a 4:50 mile. But for me, I didn't set the school record, but
yeah, still very impressive though. But you did. The main thing was you showed incredible determination and desire, even at such a young age. Like that's, I suppose, the key lesson that you learned then. Yeah,
it was also the ability to apply discipline, to train in order to do this, and I had to show up day after day, and I had to believe in myself, and that's when I started to take some leadership classes, even as a teenager. And I had these expressions that I used, like demand excellence. I had that everywhere on my school notebook, on my wall, in my bedroom. It was everywhere with me. And then as a teenager, I came across Steve Prefontaine, America's greatest running legend from the 1970s. He unfortunately died in a car accident in 1976, I believe. In his early 20s, so he never got to realize his potential, because he was shattering American running records, and he of course competed in the Olympics in Munich in 1972, and he was just an absolute legend. And so I became a big fan of his, and he had a lot of quotes like, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift." In fact, I've got it right there on my wall.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, and he's just someone that connected with me, even though he died before I was born, because he had this incredible work ethic and belief in self, and said, "I'm going to be the best in the world." He had a lot of interesting quotes, like speaking as a runner, that somebody may beat me, but they're going to have to bleed to do it. Like they're going to have to run so hard that their feet start bleeding just to beat me. And he had a little bit of arrogance and swagger, at least as portrayed in the movies. They made 3 movies about him, where he was out running with the star runners at the University of Oregon, and he was beating them. And he's a high school kid, and he would say, "Man, is there anything worse than being second best?" And he just had this desire to be the best in the world, and just belief in himself. And like I brought that with me. And so I got into motivational quotes back then.
That was even then at 10, 11 years of age, you were actually looking at motivational quotes and like the documentaries and stuff like that.
This was more like, at this point, more like 14, 15.
Yeah. Still quite young though. Especially back then, like it's different now where they're everywhere, where it's easy for kids to see this stuff. Like back then, that was just seen as like woo-woo. Wasn't normal for people to typically look at these kind of things.
Yeah. So I surrounded myself with that, with like, who do I want to be? What do I want to become? What do I need to do in order to do that? And I would do things like I would spend my summer practicing, playing soccer. I would hire my younger brother, give him like $10 just so he would practice with me so I could get better. And then I was on the number 1 ranked team in the entire state of Oregon, and played with people who went on to become professional soccer players in America and Australia and other places. These are my teammates, like set a high standard. And my coach at the time was really big into personal development, just really big. I mean, even as teenagers in the 1990s, he would have us watch like Rocky IV, watch the Rocky movies before a big match. He would have us write down our goals. He's the one that taught me demand excellence, and that was something that stuck with me. We had to write down our goals for the season, individually and team goals, and we revisited those and applied ourselves and applied leadership and set a high standard. And
was he one of your first, or was he your first, like, face-to-face type influences, like positive influences in your life? Was he one of the main ones initially?
Yeah, I think so. I had a couple, and I've acknowledged them, at least one of them in my book, including my recent book, because they helped me. They were teachers and coaches, and they helped me turn things around when I was struggling in school, struggling academically, struggling to fit in and find where I was in my social group, and struggling as I entered high school. Dave, I weighed like 89 pounds in 8th grade. I was barely 100 pounds when I got into high school. I was a small, long distance runner, but I grew up in this era of pro wrestling and He-Man and Captain Planet, and the things that were my influences were to get bigger and stronger. And that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't know if that was possible for me. I wasn't built that way. And then, of course, I became vegan as a teenager, and that, right before the internet came around, and that was unheard of. And I had everything against me. I was never supposed to succeed. I was never supposed to achieve, certainly wasn't supposed to excel as an athlete, and certainly not become a bodybuilder. But
it wasn't meant to be possible. Like, that's the thing back then, especially being vegan, that's not possible. And then the body type that you had, which is like a hard gainer type body, that's not possible either. But again, it shows, if you apply yourself with the right kind of plan, right discipline, right work ethic, and importantly, consistency, you can literally achieve anything. And again, you're testament to that in many aspects.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, Dave. And that's what I did. I set some specific goals for myself, and I used some of the principles that I learned about consistency and dedication and discipline and application. I mean, I was doing these as a teenager, Dave. I was doing consistent streaks of like, I got to run a certain amount of miles a day, cycle, on my bike, a certain amount of miles. I've got to do maybe 1,000 or 2,000 crunches every day, a couple hundred push-ups every day, and still go do my sports practice. And I became this 5-sport athlete who was on, multiple teams that were, ranked in the top in the entire state. I went on to run cross country in college for 1 year and compete against some really amazing athletes. And that was all before I fell in love with this idea of weightlifting and did the Body for Life program like you. I did that in, I think, early 2000. I probably heard of it in the late 1999.
Yeah, I was 2004. Remember, I did it twice. 2001, I did it and did pretty okay, but then 2004 did it in one. So you were just before me or just after me. So if you were around the early 2000s. But
yeah,
that was discipline. It was all discipline. That was.
Yeah. It was 2000 for me. I think March maybe of 2000 I started, and that completely transformed my life. I did a vegan version of the plan, of course, and I still have my before and after photos. I still have them. I weighed 157 pounds, and when I started and finished at 176 pounds, put on 19 pounds in 12 weeks. But I thought, why stop here? Yeah, I know it's a 12-week program because that's how you have to do it for marketing and for a book and to sell products and all that stuff. But I said, let's keep going. So I put on, and I ended up putting on 28 pounds in 10 months, and then another 10 pounds after that. And all of a sudden I was this competitive bodybuilder in my early 20s as a vegan, doing the things that I set out to do many years prior, and just connected the dots ahead of time. I said, like, imagine, Dave, and I know you've been there, what it's like when you're really small, built like a distance runner, small guy in the gym lifting weights. It's maybe almost laughable. It's like, come on, this guy, I appreciate the effort, but it's not going to take him anywhere. I'm sure that.
But even for you, the mental strength, because this is where it's really interesting to hear from, 10 years of age up to 20 or so, that mindset played such a huge role in how it defined the way your life went. Because, like I always say, your mind is a control tower, and this is what people have to really start grasping and working on their mindset, because it is everything. It literally is everything. And I can totally relate to what you're saying, because, me growing up as a teenager, like, I felt like so puny. I was quite slim and like that runner body and skeleton-like, well, not quite that, but not far off it. And even worse, you felt it even more so than the reality. And I remember I had a friend when I just started college at 17, university 17, a friend who kept at me, you have to come into the gym, come into the gym, because he got into it and he just wanted someone to train with, like a buddy. And I said, not a hope. Like, I'm not going in that place. Firstly, I'm going to look ridiculous. I'm going to be lifting puny weights. And my impression was it's just a bunch of knucklehead bodybuilders. So I don't want to be around them either, which is all again down to my own self-esteem. But eventually I did go in after, just to shut him up. I thought, look, I'm just going to go this time and that'll satisfy him. I'll never go again. Went in, never came out again. So it's again, these little things that make such a huge difference, you know? Like you mentioned like the Body for Life and doing that in 2000. Like, had you got into training much before that, or was that one of your early kind of stimulations in terms of the weight training, getting into that whole sphere?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, Dave, my good friend, I'm still like best friends with today. We met in preschool, and he was with me, hanging out with me when I became vegan in 1995. I was going to eat, at burger places and sandwich shops with him, and I said, "Hey, listen, Jordan, I gotta, I'm doing this vegan thing now, so I'm not going to be going to those places anymore." But we still maintain, friendship throughout high school. But then, I did my thing for 1 year at university running cross country. He went to another town, and we're both kind of back in town, and we're both back in the town that we're from, and we met up at a grocery store just randomly. We'd kind of lost touch a little bit because we're 18, 19, doing our own thing. And he showed me these muscle magazines, like Flex magazine, and I was like kind of turned off by it. I'd see these big veins and muscles. I was really intimidated when I'd see it in the grocery store when I was younger. But now in high school, I'd done some weightlifting in high school and a little bit with being part of the basketball team or on the wrestling team. And I was familiar with it. I didn't particularly, I wasn't consistent as a gym goer. I probably had a few weights at home, just like I had a boxing, heavy bag at home, because I was just into all kinds of sports. And I didn't know, maybe I'll be a boxer when I grow up. Maybe I'll be something else. But he showed me this muscle magazine and told me about these guys like Ronnie Coleman, Sean Ray, Jay Cutler. I mean, who are these guys? And so we looked at the muscle magazine. I said, wow, actually, I would like to get bigger and stronger. And so we started training together. So so that was my introduction to fitness. But it was only months later that I moved away and went to another university to study to become a sports massage therapist. And it was there that I kept, I check out the muscle magazines, and I saw this Muscle Media by Bill Phillips.
Oh yeah,
and I saw this Body for Life. Body for Life challenge. I learned about it from the magazine, and then I bought the book. And so that was my first introduction to a training plan. My friend Jordan and I just trained for the fun of it, just to be like your buddy, to have a spotter, to have someone help you out. And he had the thing, it was more of his interest. He was the one that was interested in weightlifting, and he was trying to get me to come, help him out, kind of thing. And all these years later, I was in touch with him this morning. I trained with him last week in Oregon in his garage in person.
Really cool.
He's the one that got me into this thing. And the Body for Life program just took it off from there. And then, I got a job, and I was working as a massage therapist, and I met Troy Alves. He was an IFBB pro bodybuilder who was in my town, and he, top 8 in the Olympia. So I got him as a trainer, and I kind of, got into the bodybuilding thing. I met Arnold Schwarzenegger on my 21st birthday at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. And I all of a sudden became a fan of the bodybuilding world. And like I do with anything, Dave, I just jumped right in. Like I do with my writing, like I do with my touring, like I do with my speaking, like I do with my interviews. I just jumped right into bodybuilding, even though
you're laser focused. Like that's an important lesson for people as well. That to be, if you want something, be laser focused, put your attention into it and put the work in, but don't avoid the distractions. Like even we were speaking before we came on, about social media and how it's so distracting. And it's something that people need to do. If you want to achieve something, whatever it is, you have to be laser focused. How do I get there? Where am I trying to get to? What are the steps to get there? And then start taking the steps and be consistent, and don't let anything stop you. And it's that's like for you and anything you've done in your life, you're incredibly laser focused.
Well, Dave, I don't know who said this quote. When I've looked up in the past, it says anonymous. You might know it, or you might know who said it. But one of the things that really helped me over the years was this whole idea of discipline. That discipline is simply choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Because so often what we want to do now is, I'd want to sit on the couch. I want to watch a movie. I want to not go to the gym. It takes effort. I don't want to go for a run today. It's rainy, it's cold, it's whatever. But what do I want most? Dave, that's what I thought about when I was a skinny kid in the gym. What do I, not what am I going to look like tomorrow or next week or next month? What is a year from now? What
Yeah.
about 5 years from now? And so people would tell me, you know, or like, man, Robert, like, I don't know if this bodybuilding thing is for you, man. Like, you're a small guy. I don't know if you're going to make progress. I said, yeah, maybe not in a few months, but in a few years from now.
Yeah.
Wait till you see me a few years from now. And I predicted all these things, like being on magazine covers and you know, and being known in the industry and all of that stuff. I predicted all of that at the very beginning. And then I said, okay, Robert, what do you have to do in order to make that happen? And so again, it was that idea of discipline, choosing between what I want now and what I want most. Like we talked before the camera, you know, we talked before recording about how I was able to write books. What I want now is all kinds of acknowledgement from social media that I'm in good shape, or that I'm hanging out with celebrity people, or that I'm popular, or look at me. But what do I want most? And I want to be a writer, and I want to write for the rest of my life. So I shut off social media for months or even a year at a time. Same with bodybuilding. When I first got in, I went all in, you know. I mean, my wife sometimes criticizes me for being all or nothing. So I'm not sure that I'm necessarily, I don't know that I'm all or nothing, because I don't always, you know, fall into the nothing category.
Yeah, exactly.
But I prefer to say all in. I'm all in. So if I'm going to be doing something like writing a new book or taking on a new sport, because I've done a bunch of sports over the years, or a new project, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to give you everything I've got, because I learned at a young age, as a teenager, to demand excellence. I learned that to give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. That there are billions of people around the world who would give anything to wake up to the privileges that I wake up to every single day.
Exactly.
And that's true. And that's not just, you know, people in sub-Saharan Africa and people who are struggling economically and don't even have access to food or clean water, but there's billions of people who, through no fault of their own, based on where they're born, where, you know, the developing country they grow up in, or even in a very developed country, but in the circumstances they're in, the challenges that they've been set, you know, since they were born, whether it was born to, you know, parents who are drug addicts or whatever, or they extreme poverty, or in a crime-ridden area, or they're economically challenged, or they don't have access to proper nourishment. They're in a food desert. They don't have, you know, a proper food nearby or clean water. Like, I don't distance myself from, oh, that's over in Africa or Asia or parts of Europe or South America or Central America, or certain corners of the United States. Like, I feel that. I feel that within me, that I almost have an obligation, you know, because I have been born into such privilege. I have an obligation to make the most of it, and to do the most good. You know, Peter Singer has that book, you know, The Most Good You Can Do. And I'm convinced that that I'm an effective altruist. I just reading that book and learning about effective altruism, like that's me. Like that's who I've always been. I've always wanted to do the most good. And, you know, because we've had other conversations and all of this, that I started this because I wanted to make a difference for animals. I became vegan as a kid growing up on the farm, and I used bodybuilding as a vehicle to show that if I can build muscle without animal protein, it could inspire others to do the same, and this would have a positive net impact on animals, and that's why I do what I do. And so
that's exactly why I like living with passion, and people find their passion, find their purpose, and then live that. That's truly living, and that will have an impact on other people. And it's like you're saying there in terms of, you know, the privilege and so on, and making the best of time. Like, you know, time's our most precious resource. We have no idea how much we're going to get, when it's going to end. We don't know what's going to happen. And, you know, people need to really start realizing to treat time with the respect it deserves and to maximize it, because, you know, as you said, people are in positions that other people would do anything to get a fraction of. And but for each of us individually, we have a chance to thrive every day and to literally create the reality we want, and one that can make a positive difference. And it's, you know, it's nearly like a sin to not grab it and just run with it. And just in this fast-paced, stress-induced kind of world we live in, and very, you know, socially conditioned kind of world, people need to break away from that kind of conditioning and just bring it right back to basics, which is, again, 24 hours in a day. Don't know how much time I'm going to get. I'm going to maximize every bloody second of this and do whatever it takes, and what is passionate, what will bring them happiness, and what will make a difference to others, because there is nothing more satisfying, as I'm sure you'll fully agree, because I know your life is dedicated to making a difference with others.
Yeah, that actually now I just know that, the name for it, being an effective altruist. I didn't really know why I had this compelling, burning desire, Dave, to make a difference for others.
Yeah.
I've always been that way. When I was a kid, whether it was helping animals, even before I was vegan, or being compassionate and supportive of my other friends and colleagues, and for those who are struggling or those in need. I do this all the time, often behind the scenes, and not just during holiday season, helping, giving some money and gifts and clothing to those in need, but I do it all the time. And I even plan for it, even big cities I go to, like I'm going to Denver today, I'm in Los Angeles tomorrow. I plan to have like vegan, snack bars and food bars and bananas and things that I can give to people, who need it. And I work in that area of it. It's almost, what's interesting, Dave, is that it's almost selfish because I get so much out of it.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of giving that I give and the amount of joy it brings me makes me almost addicted to it. And it's almost a self-serving thing when it's not designed to be that way. It's designed to, if you're struggling, that hurts me, even if I don't know you. It just does. Whether that's the humanity in me, I'm sure I get a lot of it. Character trait from my mother, who kind of shares some of that empathy and compassion for strangers. I have that, and I feel fortunate. I feel lucky that I do live in a place where I can live happily and have access to all kinds of great vegan food and have low crime where I live, and fresh air and water and all of these things in the mountains of Colorado, and very, very privileged to have that, and have the time, the 1,440 minutes we have every day to be able to do things like write a book and have that be at my job. I feel very fortunate, and I don't want that to get lost. I mentioned my best friend Jordan, but I had another best friend. He died last year at age 41.
Oh,
and it was actually his family. It was actually his family I was visiting a few days ago. It was his oldest son, graduated from high school. His middle son had a 17th birthday yesterday, and his wife and daughter. And I spent some time with them. It's my 4th trip back since he passed in September. And that was another reminder. I heard from him, my friend Josh, every single week, phone call, every single week, not email or text message or Facebook, but actual talking on the phone every single week. We met in person. I saw him in July. He died on September 17th. The last time I saw him, we lived 1,000 miles apart, but I would still go back and visit. And then I talked to him on Wednesday. He died on a Friday. And it's just a reminder that you never know. You never know when the end is coming. And sometimes it doesn't hit you until you're pretty young, like me, early 40s, and you lose your best friend. You've been in, I was the best man in his wedding. He was at my wedding. I'm the godparent to his kids. All of these things. It's very
the connection, yeah.
Connected. And that's gone. I've been posting some tributes on Facebook and that kind of stuff, and did a bunch of fun things for his family, and memorialized him in this. I turned him into a comic book superhero because he was obsessed with comics, and a friend we went to school with in high school as a talented artist, and so we worked for months to make this movie theater size poster with him as the superhero, and presented that to his family. And
nice.
And his mom was just just so moved by that, and like it's just that extension of compassion to his family and to honor legacy. And but the point is, you don't have to wait till someone passes. I guess that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why, like, when someone passes, it's terrible, but it is if you could call it even a positive, but like the thing for us to take from this, that this is a reminder here. I need to live my life fully, and if I'm not, I need to do it. Because you don't know when it's gonna change. Anything can happen. You get hit by a bus or anything. So it's important for us to really grasp.
And that does happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to grasp time is precious. It's the most precious thing we have, and we have no idea how much we're going to get. And it's not unlimited. And time's unforgiving. Time doesn't care whether you use it or not. It's going to keep ticking. So use it. treat it as precious as it is.
Yeah. I mean, those things happen, unfortunately. Another friend, his sister just was killed in a car accident 2 months ago. Another vegan fitness friend actually was hit in the sidewalk and died. A friend who was my roommate for a while. It's just these reminders, Dave, that it's not just our aging parents or grandparents. It's people own age sometimes in unfortunate circumstances where it's game over and they never saw it coming. They didn't expect it. And that's what happens. And it's making the most of the time that we have, and that's why I think I'm obsessed with my own standard of excellence of like, what can I, like the dreams that I want to achieve, that I know the pain of seeing them not fulfilled, firsthand experiencing failure and all of that. And I've felt the incredible joy when they do work out. It's just the best in the world. But now I'm really compelled to try to help others achieve that. Like I've already, I'm not finished. I have a lot I still want to accomplish. Don't get me wrong. But I worked so hard for so many years, so many decades to get to points where now I can say I'm a New York Times bestselling author and a #1 international bestseller. My book has been out for less than a year. It's in 7 languages around the world, and I'm, I get recognized in stores and restaurants, and these things that, for whatever reason, were important to me at some point in my life. But now I want to help others do that.
And everyone has the potential to. Like, this is the thing. Like, you're just a normal person, but you've applied, again, dedication to excellence, clear vision, total belief in yourself, and most importantly, consistent action taken. And you've got to where you've got to. Many achievements along the way, but obviously recently, like with the New York Times bestseller and all that, and the global spread of it has been massive, finally, for you to get that kind of credibility. But it doesn't matter, it's an athlete, an actor, someone who does something that's a mission, writing books, whatever. We have to take the steps. It's not going to just happen. Like, you have to have a clear vision and then put in the work. If you don't put in the work, then it's not going to happen. And like one thing as well, like a lot of what you're saying there for the last little while, like this is why gratitude is such a powerful force. It's like you being grateful for where you are, what you have, the privilege that you have, and then letting that then drive you on to make sure you make the best of every day. Like, people need to, embrace gratitude more. It's again something that's kind of lost in this fast-paced world we're living in, where people don't even stop and think of, what have I got to be grateful for? And there's so much, like there's such a big list. I always tell people, and I do it myself for many years now, at the end of every day, think about how the day's gone and identify 3 things that I'm personally grateful for from that particular day, and 3 things I see that were wins in that day. And then you're going to sleep a lot more peacefully, because you're going to feel a lot more positive about yourself, about everything, and you're going to see that you've stepped forward, which is basically what every day should be about. How can I make some positive step forward in some area of my life, or in some way, even like that if it's to help others, but some kind of way to make a difference. And that's like the objective to have every day. So like gratitude is an incredibly powerful force that people need to start embracing a lot more.
Oh, I think you nailed it, Dave. That's it. And it's funny you mentioned that. It's almost like you're spying on me. That's probably the word I use the most. I mean, you see it on Twitter, you see it on Facebook, you see it on Instagram, my hashtag grateful. And when I started doing that, instead of feeling resentment, or jealousy or envy, like, man, why them and why not me?
Yeah,
I've been doing this. I've been grinding. Not that I've just been vegan for 27 years, but man, working hard to promote it and elevate it and magnify veganism to the masses for a quarter century, like 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, 10 hours a day, just putting in the work. And sometimes the recognition isn't there, acknowledgement isn't there, maybe the impact isn't there. And it's like, man, that used to get me frustrated a little bit, because I did want to make a difference. And it wasn't all about being recognized for the ego standpoint, but like for the amplification of the message that I wanted to get out there. Like, why can't I do it? And then other people.
Well, if you're highly recognized, you're going to impact more people. So that's the bottom line. Like, besides, even if there is a bit of ego for people, you can impact more people if you've got a bigger audience and more exposure. So
right.
It's natural to have that drive towards that. And that's what's great about now that you have that finally.
But I used to think, why them and why not me?
Totally.
Like, the social media people that come around, they've been vegan for a year or two, and they're big time stars, and they have better grasp on technology than I have. They have more charisma. They're more comfortable on camera. They maybe invest more time into it. They're more dedicated, whatever. And then the results are much bigger as far as personal recognition or fame or popularity or, size of following, size of audience and all that. And I used to have a little bit of resentment. I mean, I'm just being honest, keeping it real. Why not me, man? I helped build this industry of vegan bodybuilding. Like, I created that from the bottom. But then in the last, I don't know how many years, I don't know, 5 years or more or less, I don't know for sure, but it's really been about gratitude. It's just been about being grateful for the opportunity. I get to wake up and do what I love to do and make a difference for people, for animals, for the planet, for myself, for my community, for those who are my teachers, my coaches. I mean, a lot of it is for them.
Yeah.
Like this recognition you mentioned, Dave, I learned all this stuff from other people, right? I had teachers, I had coaches, I had mentors, I had advisors, I had role models. I learned it from all of them. So for me, and this is just being totally honest, when I am able to write one of the best-selling books in the entire world, which I did with the Plant-Based Athlete last year, just based on total sales and bestseller lists and all that, that's a representation of my mentors. Like, totally. That's a gift for them. Yeah. Like, I mentioned a bunch of them in the acknowledgments, and that's what gave me some of the most pride and most fulfillment was they may not even know it. Some of them know it. Some of them know the role they played in my life, but some don't. And I was able to thank and acknowledge my third grade teacher, that's when I first decided I wanted to be a writer at age 8, and she supported it and helped me and all that. And my 4th and 5th grade teacher. And I sent them signed books, advanced copies before it even came out, and kind of said, by the way, make sure you check out, page, whatever it is, 319 in the back. And they saw their name there, to their, delight and surprise. And maybe they didn't know the impact they had on me, because I was just another 10-year-old, another
kid. Yeah.
But it made an impact on me. And then my coaches, the ones I mentioned that taught me leadership skills in high school and turned my life around. And allowed me to set a standard and hold myself to a standard and set goals when most teenagers aren't doing mindfulness, visualization, vision boards, goal setting. I have some of those, like vision board stuff that I created in the 1990s as a teenager when other kids are, driving cars and eating fast food and going to movies and going on dates. Man, I was working. I was visualizing my future. I said, there's no question. If you asked me in high school, you might think I'm either a little bit crazy or arrogant or confused or something. I said, no. I'm going to be a great writer someday. Good luck, kid.
Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about a few years from now. I'm talking about it's going to take a while, but watch. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And it just feels so good to be able to do that and to share that with my community, to be able to, all those mentors, those teachers, those role models, to thank them, acknowledge them, say, this is an extension of you. This isn't me. This is an extension of what you taught me. Just like I'm teaching people right now on this call, this conversation with me and you right now, talking about creating a vision, believe in yourself, connect the dots in advance. Where am I going to be 5 years from now? And what do I do today to get there? That's going to help somebody listening right now. I guarantee it. Because that's how I wrote books. Yeah. That's how I made the bestseller list. That's how I got speaking gigs around the world, from China to Australia to London, where we met in 2016, from Toronto to New York City. I visualized all of that. And then I had to do the thing that most people are unwilling to do, which is to take those action steps. And there are days that it hurts. You're tired. Maybe you're sick, you're unmotivated, you're frustrated, something bad happens, maybe your best friend dies, your loved one dies, your relationship ends, you have an injury that you're out for months at a time, you've got a cast now, and you broke a bone thing, and you're just like, you feel like you're at the bottom. But if you are consistent in your belief in self, and you say, man, this is an obstacle, I'm gonna overcome this, and I'm going to use this as a lesson, and I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to come back stronger and all that stuff. And you actually believe it, even if nobody else does, you're going to do great things. And you're going to inspire other people along the way. People who said, man, I want to do something, but I'm not sure I believe in myself enough to do it. Like, I want it, I want that end result. I want that destination, but I don't know if I have it in me. And then to help them realize they have it in themselves.
That's it, to be proof of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone has this potential. Like, this is the thing people have to realize. Again, you're just a normal person. I'm just a normal person. Everyone's just a normal person. It's just what you do then with your day, with your vision, with the opportunity you have to take action every day. What are you doing with it? Where are you putting your time? Are you sitting on your ass just watching Netflix all day? Or are you putting in the work into, whether it be writing or becoming an athlete and doing your training or whatever it may be? Like, the craft that you want, the difference you want to make, the life you want to create, are you working on it every day? Because again, like I said a while ago, it's like we have a pen in our hands, we're writing it. So what does your life movie look like? What are your life script? What does it look like? Would you be proud of it? Even for right now, if people have 60, 70, 80 years left in life, are you proud of it right up to this moment? Most people won't, sadly. And this is the kind of reflection that most people need to do on a very regular basis. Because it's too easy to get caught up in the crap and the distraction and, again, modern world and stress and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's your opportunity to live an incredible life and to make it fulfilling. And everyone has their own version of what happiness actually means. And that's what people should be striving towards. Like, for you, it's making a difference in other people's life and living the life you want. Again, we're very similar in that way. But we have this power and people need to start realizing it.
Right. I think you're right that this entire life experience is pursuit of happiness. And we all have demons. We all have obstacles. We all have regrets. We all have things. I wish I was prettier or more handsome or taller or shorter or stronger or more fit or more muscular or younger, or, we're unsatisfied. Or I wish I didn't have this, whatever issue it is, even if it's, up here. I wish I didn't have this anxiety. I wish I didn't have this, attention deficit thing. I wish I didn't have this condition, this physical condition or whatever. Like, life is hard for a lot of people, for most of us, regardless of the privilege that we're born into or the advantages that we have or the safe or comfortable situations we're in compared to those who are not in those situations. There's still this pursuit of happiness. There's a lot of, I know you're a quote guy, and so am I. And there's a lot of great people like, Jim Carrey, who has a number of quotes about this. He became one of the best, highest paid, most famous, popular actors in the entire world. And he says he kind of wished everybody had that opportunity to just be as rich and famous as you've ever dreamed of, to realize that's not it. Yeah. There's still an emptiness there. That's not, I don't know what the exact quote is, but it's just about you have this idea that if you're just wealthier, or if you're more famous, or if you achieve these arbitrary goals that you set for yourself that are just, the ones that are more materialistic, not internal, that everything is going to be okay, and you're going to be at peace in the world around you, and you're going to be completely fulfilled. And he said that's not the case. And that's not the case for so many who have achieved very, very high levels. Yeah.
There's a lot of very unhappy, publicly perceived successful people, basically.
Right. And how many have we lost to suicide?
Exactly.
Robin Williams and so many others, musicians especially, and actors, entertainers, and athletes, and people who you think they had it all, and you see them, Chester at Lincoln Park, dancing all over the stage, and everything is great, family, I think 6 kids and all this stuff, and whatever was going on in his life, it wasn't enough, and he couldn't keep it going. And the comedian Robin Williams, who made us all laugh, endless amount of times, like it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And you see, that meme. I hate that I even have to reference a meme, because that's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
But let's say it's an image, not just a meme, but it's an image that says, "This is what depression looks like." And it's a whole bunch of really happy, smiling, laughing, famous people like Robin Williams. This is what depression looks like.
Yeah.
People who are covering up a lot of pain by making other people laugh and making themselves feel good for that moment. Life is hard and it's difficult, but if you can find purpose, if you can find meaning in this process. I wanted to make sure I mentioned this, Dave, so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about 24 hours in a day, 365 days a year. You've heard me for 15 years, 20 years talking about 1,440 minutes in a day. But one idea I got recently is this idea that we have, it just hits you differently, or hits me differently, is that if we're lucky, we're going to have about 3 billion heartbeats in our lifetime.
Okay. Yeah.
So what are you doing with the heartbeats you have left? And
Yeah.
statistically, Dave, we may think, well, live longer than 80 years old by living a healthy, active, plant-based lifestyle. But that doesn't matter what we think. Statistically right now, and I know people on plant-based diets and all that, and healthy, active people are the minority. Most of the world is not very active, is
very unhealthy. Yeah.
Yes, Western way of eating. But based on statistics, 3 billion heartbeats is about 78, 80 years old, which is the average lifespan, at least for Americans right now. I'm 41. No, I'm 42. I'm 40. Man, half of my heartbeats are gone, Dave. And I don't remember the first 5 years of my life. I was an infant, a toddler. I don't remember. I only have 37 years at best that I remember. And half of my heartbeats are gone. And that just hits me differently than like hours in a day or even minutes in a day. Like, I've obviously, you can feel it from me. I've lost a number of people recently, friends, very close friends, family. So I feel that emotionally a little bit differently. And I just came back 72 hours ago. I was with a family who've been devastated from the loss of their husband and father and my best friend. And so it's still fresh in me, but it puts a different perspective on things. That we only have these finite amount of heartbeats, and the heart stops, the blood stops moving. That life comes to an end. What did you do with your time? Well, you had it. Whether you want to call that legacy, whether you want to call it reputation, whether you want to call it impact or influence, or whatever you want to say. What did you do with the time that you had? And basically all this is, Dave, it's a pretty way of saying to do whatever you can to the best of your ability to live with as few regrets as possible.
That's the important thing. Yeah. Like, it's like I always stress to people, and I use the hashtag an awful lot, like live in fear of regret. Like, there's only one thing to be afraid of in life, and it is regret. And every day be crippled nearly by it and so fearful to have no regret. Because again, this is the opportunity we have. Whereas unfortunately, most people live lives that when they do come near the end, that they're reflecting and there's so many regrets that they have, and it's a terrible place to be, and you can't do anything about it. So it's like the message, like one of our main messages from this entire podcast is so valuable, and it's great that we've had this conversation on it, because it doesn't happen often enough. But it's that value in time, value in heartbeats. Like, there's a stoicism or stoic quote, I can't remember it exactly, but it's basically that, like, you're dying every day, so it's like you're getting closer. So again, the thing is, just bloody make use of the time you have, because you're getting closer and closer and closer. So why are you wasting it? Why are you wasting it on pointless things and materialism and all this kind of stuff, when that isn't actually bringing you happiness, or it isn't what happiness means to you, and it's not helping to make a difference in other people's lives? Like, we can do so much, and like humans, like it's like what you said about your type of personality and the way you are, and compassion and empathy and helping people, just wanting to and just naturally doing it. Like, that's being human, and we need more of that. And unfortunately, again, societal conditioning and the norms and all this kind of stuff has swallowed up a lot of humanity, and it's lost into greed and selfishness and self-absorption. And social media, of course, hasn't helped with that, because it's making image so important, and people are so self-absorbed, and then that destroys their self-esteem and self-image. So it's like, again, a vicious circle. But we have to, again, get back into the idea of just being good humans, good people, move towards happiness, keep it very simple. Some of the happiest people in the world have the most simple lives. Like, people who live in the Amazon rainforest are similar. They're happy out. They're doing what they want every day, and they're happy out, and they're not tied into modern society. So, like, we can gain happiness from very simple stuff.
Dave, that's it, man. Like, first of all, I want to say we're going to struggle to make it in a me society instead of a we society. Like, we just keep putting ourselves first and forget about the poor, and forget about the people that don't, the animals that are left in factory farms and in animal testing labs, and are left in the wilderness where there's wildfires burning up half the country or half the state or whatever. We're just the ecosystem. If we just say, I'm only worried about me and the time that I have here on this planet, and who cares? I don't have kids or grandkids. I don't, this separation between us and other people, as if just because we're not directly related, they don't matter. Or if they're of a different race or different background or from a different country or for different species, they don't matter. I mean, it's ludicrous for me to think in those terms, but that's how so many people think. And we're not going to make it in a me society where everything revolves around us. There has to be a component of humanity, as you said, of giving, of reaching out and lifting someone else up. That's one of the greatest strengths that we possess, is to lift someone else up. And oh man, I had a certain a certain point I wanted to make, and I lost it. Going off, it was something you were. Oh, I know what it is. Dave, a lot of people wouldn't believe me probably, but if you ask me, I mean, you ask my wife, my best friend, a few other close friends, they'll tell you. But if you don't know me all that well and we're asking me like, Robert, what does your dream life look like? It's like you described, man. I want to go live out, probably in a country outside the United States. I've been to 30 something countries. I love the Caribbean countries, Southeast Asian countries, and get off the internet, hang out with the locals, be out, exercise in fresh air, eat fresh fruit, and laugh and be happy and be part of a community. Like, I mean, Dave, I'm sitting I'm in a basement right now with artificial light. I have this, ring light to make this shine on my forehead.
Yeah.
To be on the computer all the time. I mean, I'm grateful we're having this conversation, but I spend like 12 hours a day down here. Yeah. In a basement on a computer with another computer next to me, with a cell phone, a smartphone next to me, and a television over there. And that's not my idea of living. That's why I do these things, like go out to the Caribbean or go to Mexico. Or last night, my wife and I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning trying to plan our next getaway to somewhere exotic where life is a little bit quieter. It's a little bit simpler.
And simpler,
it's a little bit slower. Because, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not saying it has to be in certain countries or certain parts of the world. It's just that in certain places, they embrace that kind of life more. Just like in Europe, certain European countries, they take like, the entire summer off.
And stuff.
It's this like another meme that, it's a different way of life. We're here, in the United States, we say, I'm out of the office. I've got to go have this important medical surgery done. But you can still reach me on my cell phone anytime. It's there's these memes about that where in Europe it's like, hey, you reach me in July. I'll be back in September. Look forward to connecting then. Here it's like, I have to go do this life altering, surgery. And as soon as I get out, as soon as I become conscious again, I'll get right back to you. Yeah. And what's funny is I even had one of those emails a couple of days ago from someone in the, in the vegan community who, I'm out of the office, but reach me anytime, on my cell phone. It's just, I don't want that. I don't want that kind of.
You want to be escaped from it. Yeah. Get a break from it.
The anxiety. Well, I think I don't talk about it a lot, but I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder 6 years ago or so. It's difficult even for me to have conversations like this oftentimes. It wasn't always the case, but I probably worked too many hours, put too much stress on myself, too many expectations. And
because remember you were telling me like that, probably back to 16, telling me about how it had come about and how it was out of the blue,
Yes. Yeah. I'd already been on a speaking tour around the world for 12 years. I mean, I was very comfortable on stage. I was a stand-up comedian. I was on stage for hundreds of people in the audience, or even 1,000 sometimes, like on a vegan cruise, like came out of nowhere, and it's impacted me for years. And, that obviously contributes to me wanting a little bit quieter or simpler life. But I think part of the stress and anxiety is this idea of being a perfectionist and everything has to be perfect. And I was like yesterday, I told you before we got on our call today. I had another interview and my sound wasn't working. And I was literally dripping sweat. I was wiping it off the back of my neck. I was just panicking. And I even told my wife, I said, like, that's what makes me not want to do all this technology stuff. It's so hard for me because I put so much stress on myself. It's very difficult. I tell people the absolute hardest thing, no question about it, in releasing a New York Times bestseller was that I had to do about 100 podcasts.
Yeah.
And be on camera where I would have enjoyed being on zero. It's not that I don't like getting the message out there. It's just physically difficult for me. Yeah. I'm doing fine with you today, maybe because I know you a little bit better than other people, but I am in a complete panic right before the camera goes on. Like if you can see behind the scenes, I'm just panicking. I have all my stuff, all the things that I need.
Make sure you're ready.
Right in place, and but it's like that every day, and it's like, man, if I could just live out in a beach community, eating coconuts and fresh fruit and playing soccer and running and being out in the sunshine and writing books at my own pace without the stress of you must meet this deadline by tomorrow or you're out of here or whatever, this pressure that comes with working with major publishers. And not that it's that bad, but there's
pressure. Yeah. But that's in simple life. Like this is where the world needs to go, though. It needs to start moving towards more simple life. Now, I don't know if it ever will, but people obviously themselves can do it. Even if it's just like you're saying there, organize regular getaways to simpler life. Especially if your life is involved in like that technology and so on all the time, where look for your purpose, your mission, why you mightn't like it. It's just how it is. You just have to go with it. But you need to then take that break to get the hell away from all of it. Like I'd be again very much like you that way. I need to get away from all this on a regular enough basis because you just can't keep going. Even just from your adrenals, like, they get so fatigued and drained from all this technology that we can't keep going. Even with all the passion we have, you have to take the time out and go to a simpler existence for a little bit of time.
But I think, Dave, that's also part of the dream. I don't see it as a negative thing. Like people say, like, don't you want to be famous and on all these podcasts and on television all the time and all that? Well, for a period I did, and I worked hard, and I was on television and documentaries and magazine covers and all that. And all that work led to this point where now I can hopefully like financially afford and emotionally afford to now take a step back. And actually, I might even be a more effective advocate and activist for veganism because I can just pour all myself into my next projects without this being on the go every second. Got to keep up with this social media page, and this expectation and this deadline and all of that. I'm not so sure that is the goal. It's like the audacity of Jim Carrey to say after he's made, hundreds of millions of dollars or 20 million for a single film, 10 million for another one. I mean, adds up to probably hundreds of millions. The audacity to say, that's not it. That's not the destination. I have the audacity to say, listen, I've done all these things. I've had the bestseller. I've been on TV. I've been in movies. I've know celebrities, and that's not it. There's something else. And that's why I'm saying this. This is not a negative thing for anyone listening. Like, Robert can't take the pressure or the stress, the anxiety.
No.
I did the things that I needed to do, the work ethic, the drive, the passion to get there, and realize that though some aspects are really fulfilling, like I'm going to be in Denver in a little over an hour, and I can walk into giant bookstores and see my book right there. And it even has like manager recommendation and local author and bestseller and all that. That makes me feel good.
Of course.
But there's a lot of it that is a burden of expectation. And what's the next book? It has to be better than the last one, or else I'm not moving forward. It's a failure. Am I one hit wonder? Am I done? And so for me, I just want to be clear for the listeners, that is the dream to live that quieter. It's like what people work for, at least in the United States. You work your entire life
for retirement. Yeah.
Exactly. Even if it's a job you hate, which I hate. I'm very sad that people are in that position, but I know millions are. A job that you don't really find fulfilling, not enriching. It doesn't make you the best version of yourself, but it gets you to the point where you can finally retire. And for many people, because of the common degenerative diseases in America, you only get a short time of it. I have, I
Exactly.
have, I have, I have two uncles, Dave, that one died in his sleep after coming in from the farm. He enjoyed 0 minutes of retirement. And then another one just passed away last year. His brother, both of these, my mom's brothers, who was working in his 70s because he had to. He had no money. Working up into his 70s until he physically couldn't do it anymore. He was like a danger on the road. He was like crashing into cars, and he had to be put into an assisted living place. And he spent the next 2 years there until he died.
Yeah.
This is not living.
No.
But I understand that was a generation in some cases before us, or you could say it's poor financial planning, or you could say, oh, this person didn't apply themselves in a certain way, or they ate a poor diet, which in this case, I have to be honest, both my farming uncles did. They ate from restaurants, animals every single day. They ate animals and saturated in dietary cholesterol and had sodium through the roof and died of a heart attack in his sleep. And the other one had all kinds of physical ailments, diet and lifestyle related, and was put immediately into assisted living and then died. This is not what I want for people, whether they were my loved ones, they're your loved ones, or someone listening in. As an empathetic, compassionate altruist, I don't want that future for most people. And we have these, I don't know what it's like where you live, Dave. We have 73.6% of Americans are overweight and 42.5% are obese.
America. It's closing in. Like Europe isn't as bad, but it's getting worse and worse. Just like Asia is. Like Asia is quickly westernizing, basically. So it's like America is really out of control, and all the others are following.
The reason I say that, Dave, is not to fat shame anybody or body shame anybody. It's to sound the alarm that if you are one of the 73.6% of Americans who are overweight, you very likely have the early stages of heart disease. You are more statistically likely to have or develop diabetes, to develop one of the major cancers that almost like 1 in 3 or 1 in 2 people are going to develop in the Western world. You're more likely to suffer from hypertension. You're more likely to put all kinds of extra pressure on your joints and ligaments as you carry on extra weight. You're more likely to be less active, therefore further, developing these conditions that are going to have adverse implications on your body's organs and on your lifestyle. And if you're part of the 42.5%, half of Americans, 330 million people in our country, if you're one of the half of the Americans, including children, who are clinically obese, you are very likely on a collision course, that my best friend had, who was overweight, diabetic, caught COVID and died. This is a dangerous place to be for the future of our society, especially in the Western world. And it doesn't have to be that way. And if we can understand that the food that we eat, the exercise that we do, the thoughts that we have, the actions that we take, the emotion we put behind it, the meaning and purpose we find in our day-to-day life, we can change our outcomes. And very likely we can influence at least some people around us and make their lives better too. And that's what I'm committed to doing. And I do that through my writing, through my speaking, through my conversations with wonderful people like you, who, by the way, I have to say, I love, there's something about you, Dave, that I love. It's, well, first your authenticity, but also your transparency. You list all of your exercises, your meals, your foods, you put it on social media, you put it out there. You get up for your workouts even when you don't feel like it. You connect with your audience even when you got other things to do, and you show up every single day. And that's one thing I appreciate about you, and I see it. I know others see it, and I think that's an example of what other people can strive for, where you say, listen, I'm taking my health into my own hands. I'm going to put the best fuel into my body. I'm going to move my body, because most of us don't. We sit in front of a computer all day long or on our phone. And you set an example, and you walk your talk, and you are who you are. You're authentic to your core, and you show up and say, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is how it's changed my life. And I'm here to help you too. And I just wanted to acknowledge that and say that I appreciate you, Dave, for the way that you show up in life and use the heartbeats that you have left to make a difference for those who have their heartbeats counting down too.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for that, Robert, because again, that's what it boils down to, it's authenticity and genuinely want to make a difference. And that's why I think we connect very well. We're very similar in our mentalities or outlooks. The fact we do genuinely want to make a difference in other people. And, it goes right back to, everything we've said. It goes right back to what I would have said even in the intro. The power is in our hands, and it's taking personal responsibility for every area of your life, your health, well-being, your finances, your relationships, your professional life, your aspirations, how you react to everything. Like, look, no life is plain sailing. Every life is like a roller coaster. There's ups, downs, there's everything, but it's how you react is what always matters. And developing resilience. And like I always stress to people, no one ever gets to a place. Like, it's a case of you evolve, you keep evolving, you keep getting a more positive mental attitude, you keep getting in better health, you keep getting in better shape or better ability to be fitter or perform or whatever. It's up to you how vibrant your life is. It's like with all the stats and stuff you were sharing there, the reality is those people have to take responsibility for where they have got to by the actions that they've taken or the things that they didn't do that they should have been doing. But the good news is you can always reverse. You were in a bad position, you can always reverse it, but you have to take action, and you have to, again, take that power you have. And it boils down again to every day, make it bloody count. It's precious. You have to, how many heartbeats was that again?
About 3 billion in a lifetime.
3 billion.
Yeah.
3 billion heartbeats. Bloody make them count. Don't waste them.
Yeah.
People need to get this message and need to really embrace it and run with it, because time is, our life is amazing. It's beautiful. It's precious. It can be so fulfilling, and happiness is there for everyone, but you have to take the action to get there. It isn't going to just fall in your lap. You have to make it happen and take that power and make it happen.
Well, I want to throw this quote in there, Dave, because I know we're probably wrapping up soon, and you've heard me say it. I say it all the time. But I have to say it. It's like my obligation because of how much it changed my life. I have to share it. And this is a good time where you're talking about taking action and making the life that you want and using the time that you've got to live your best life. And it's a quote from H. Jackson Brown Jr. You've heard me say it before. He said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things that you did do. He goes on to say, so, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. But I don't care about that poetic stuff. I care about, he is talking about regret. You don't want to be asking what might have been. Like, man, I had an opportunity to change my diet, change my lifestyle, pursue a dream, be the kind of person I always dreamed of being, but I didn't do it. I was too afraid. I didn't give it a chance. I didn't believe in myself. People said I wasn't good enough, and they said I would never amount to anything to be able to accomplish that. And so whether he's saying 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do, the actions you didn't take, the dreams you didn't have, the things you didn't pursue than the things that you did do. And I read that as, whether it's 20 years from now or 2 years from now, you don't want to be asking what might have been. And I look back on the biggest decisions of my life, December 8th, 1995, becoming vegan. Even before that, 1988, decided I wanted to be an author, and just not giving up, not letting that light burn out, just keep that spark there. And I think about all the other things, the turning points in my life, the things that really mattered. Those are the ones that I'm so glad that I did. And then the ones that we all have regrets of some level. The ones that, man, I wish, when I was a little bit younger, or before I had like a sore back, if I would have pursued this sport or this endeavor or whatever. Yeah, I regret some of that stuff. But the amazing opportunity, like you just said, is that we still have time. As long as we're still pretty healthy and pretty happy, there's still time for whatever you wanted to pursue. And there's no time like the present, because time is going to pass. Time is going to go, and you're going to say next year, next time, next new year,
it's like someday. The people say that someday never actually comes.
Someday never comes. And that's true for most people. And so just to live with intention And so that's why that quote resonates with me so much, because looking back, we are going to say, man, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have at least tried that, or visited that place in the world, or followed that program, or learned from that individual, or taken the opportunity to do that adventurous thing. And now maybe it doesn't work for me because of, whatever the circumstances one has in their life, and they may never get to do that. And I just encourage listeners to really follow your gut too, and follow your emotion and follow your heart. And if it speaks to you, give it at least a little bit extra attention, and maybe that's your calling, or that's your purpose, or that's your passion, and you just haven't recognized it yet. And allow yourself to let that marinate in your mind and ponder it, and say, maybe this is the next thing I'm going to do. And then do it with all the enthusiasm that you can come up with, and cultivate whatever future that you want. And I'm doing that right now. I'm working on new projects, brand new stuff. I mean, that hopefully is the next biggest thing I've ever done, by connecting the dots ahead of time.
Yeah, like I've no doubt, because again, you've proved it throughout your life, basically. You have a vision that people think, nah, can't happen. You truly believe it'll happen. Then you go to work and you keep going until you get there. And it's like the gut thing. I always refer to the gut. It's basically our internal personal GPS. Like, it won't put us wrong. We if we ever reflect on things that didn't go the way we kind of wanted to, more often than not, we ignored our gut. Like, our gut will not lead us astray. So you make a very important point with that, I think like this has been a very important conversation. I have no doubt it's going to hugely impact anyone who listens to it, because again, it's the type of topic that people need to hear more of and don't hear enough of, Before wrapping up, we have to, you pull up that book again, tell people more about this New York Times bestseller and global phenomenon. Just tell people a bit briefly about what it's about, why people should get it, and where to get it and so on.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I appreciate the opportunity. So it's called The Plant-Based Athlete. I co-authored it with Matt Fraser from No Meat Athlete, a longtime friend of more than 10 years. And really what we wanted to do with this book was to tell the compelling stories of the world's greatest world's greatest plant-based athletes. So telling the compelling stories of the world's greatest plant-based athletes, I personally interviewed about 60 amazing athletes, Olympic athletes, professional athletes, world champions, world record holders, a few that you may have seen in the Game Changers, but only 4 of them. Most that you've seen, like, Rich Roll, you've seen some of these athletes around the internet, but there's a bunch in there that maybe you are completely unfamiliar with. You don't know their stories at all, yet they're some of the best in the entire world at what they do. And one of the reasons sometimes you don't know their stories is because they're out there training. They're out there putting in the work to be professional triathletes, even world champion triathletes, world champion duathletes, national champion boxers, international champion weightlifters. They're out there. They're not, on social media every day in some cases, because they're out there running 20 miles out in the woods, building their cardiovascular system to be the best in the world. Like Fiona Oakes and others who were out there just grinding, all the time. And so not only do we tell these stories, and they were so fun, they're not Q&A. I actually interviewed everyone over the course of months, and I wrote their story. I told their story in personal narration, and it was really rewarding to do that. Men and women alike from all over the world, lots of different continents, lots of different sports. And I want readers to discover these names, for themselves. Of course, some of the usuals you'll see in there, that some of the big name plant-based athletes you'd expect, but I want there to be some surprises there too. And along with these stories, of course, there's all the plant-based nutrition, the evidence-based nutrition with citations, reference for scientific studies about building muscle on a plant-based diet, how you can do it absolutely just as effectively with plant-based proteins as you can with whey protein or animal protein, because the studies have been done now, especially a lot of them lately, including the oral pea supplement study with young men who are following either an omnivorous diet with whey protein or a plant-based diet with pea protein, followed them for 8 weeks, same training program, same calorie intake, same everything, and had absolutely identical results. Other studies on female plant-based athletes versus omnivorous athletes in Canada a popular study from about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, actually showed not only did they have similar performance, but the plant-based female endurance athletes performed better. Their recovery time was better. Their endurance was greater. We have those studies now. It was really fun to reference those. And of course, there's meal plans. There's even a sample day in the life of all kinds of different athletes, including some of those from the Game Changers. Of course, we got James Wilkes in here, and Scott Jurek, and Dotsie Bausch, and Rip Esselstyn, and other great bodybuilders like Corinne Sutton. I have a bodybuilding background, but I only won 2 bodybuilding titles as a plant-based athlete. Corinne has won 23. I'm going to see him tomorrow, actually, in Los Angeles. And so, and then there's recipes, including recipes from the athletes themselves, from Olympic gold medalist Megan Duhamel, from world champion mountain biker Sonia Looney, from IFBB Pro bikini champion Natalie Matthews. Of course, I gave away some of the names now, but there's plenty more. I interviewed a whole bunch of people, and some of the best stories I didn't even mention yet. Some of the best athlete stories. So recipes, meal plans, information about protein, carbohydrates, fats, athlete stories, even grocery shopping lists, sample day in the life routines, you name it. The plant-based athlete is designed to be that plant-based fitness book that resonates with everybody. It's currently in North America. It's on store shelves in Italy right now. The Spanish translation is just being finished. The Korean translation is just being finished. It'll be available in those languages soon, German and Polish and Chinese as well. They could be out any day now. I mean, it's literally on store shelves in Italy. I've been working with the Spanish translator. The last time I heard from him was about a week ago, so it could be out in Spanish any day now. And so soon, it'll be not just on Amazon in the US or North America, or Book Depository where you have to have it shipped to different countries. It'll actually be available in many different countries in many languages. Literally any day, any week. I never know until someone posts a photo of my book in Italian, and I didn't even know it's done yet. So.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's an amazing work, and I know your heart and soul has gone into it, and it's a couple of decades culmination in that, basically. And it's just been amazing to see the growth of it, and it's been fantastic to see it go global. It's not just been big in America; it's been big all over the world. And again, it's basically a culmination of all that you've done for so many years. And as I said at the start, I'm so happy to see it happen because you deserve it. And in some ways we said about even how we feel that some people get credit sometimes more than others. Like, you deserve it, you definitely earn it, and it's about bloody time. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Dave. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you. We've both been on this course for a long time, doing this plant-based fitness thing for a long time. Traveling around, talking to lots of people, getting important messages out there, living our true selves and leading by example. And I appreciate your willingness to share that feedback and to give me a platform and an opportunity to share with your audience, and to even allow me to talk about the book for a little bit, which absolutely was a culmination of everything I've done, a lifetime in the making. And I think that's why it's been received so well. I mean, all the biggest plant-based nutritionists, doctors, celebrities, they're all getting behind it because they've seen me since I was a kid. They've seen me since my teenage years or my early 20s, going around all the vegan festivals when there were barely any out there. And, I met T. Colin Campbell almost 20 years ago, and the Esselstyn family, well over a decade ago, and all these Brenda Davis and so many people who endorsed the book, put their name on the back cover, or otherwise gave endorsements and promoted it when it came out. And it's a reflection, I think, of the community that we've built here in the plant-based world, and that we're here to support one another. And that's actually precisely why I'm going to Denver here in a few minutes, is to support my friend Dr. Will Bolsewitz's book, Fiber Fueled Cookbook, which is one of the best-selling books in the entire world right now. It's top 20 of all books on Amazon. It's going to be a major New York Times bestseller when the list comes out next week. And I'm going to go buy some more copies, as well as sign my own books that are in bookstores and say hi to the staff and all that. But I'm making this special trip, to support a fellow author. And I appreciate those who have done the same for me. It means a lot, and it's been a lifelong journey. So thanks for...
It's again doing things with the right reason. Like, again, you live with your heart and you live with purpose, and that's what it's all about. Living with purpose and grabbing life with both hands and making the most every day. I think that's, it's something we've repeated many times throughout this. So unless people aren't listening, they surely realize at this time is precious and not to waste.
Absolutely.
So I just want to
Awesome.
thank you so much for your time, because I know your schedule is absolutely insane. So I'm so appreciative of you being on, and I'm so appreciative of our connection, and look forward to meeting again face to face at some stage, hopefully in the near future. But at least we continue to keep in contact virtually. And I just continue to wish you the best in all that you do. And I know you're just going to go from strength to strength.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. And I wish you the best. I hope to see you soon. I hope I get out to Europe and do some book signings out there. And to your audience, follow your passion and make it happen. And I wish you all the very best in your endeavors. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening today. And Dave, appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. So there you go, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this. I know you'll have enjoyed this. Please pay attention to what we said. Please put into action. Remember, live in fear of regret. Live with gratitude every single day. And just remember those 3 billion, is that right? 3 or 9 billion heartbeats?
3 billion heartbeats.
3 billion heartbeats. Remember that. If you keep remembering that, as well as some of the amazing quotes, you'll go far. So this is the Mind Body Health podcast with myself, Dave Sheahan. Looking forward to the next episode. Please go out there, share it far and wide. People need these messages. Have a good one. Embrace life. Make it happen.